Welcome back to Freedom to Learn podcast. My name is Gurumurthy Yeleswarapu, founder and CEO of Silicon Valley for You. And so for those who are not familiar with the podcast, please subscribe and press on the like button. And you will have a lot of episodes coming your way, and you can also access a bunch of podcasts from the past. So today we have a very special guest, Akhil Yeleswarapu. He has been with Silicon Valley for You for all the time, pretty much all along, from the inception almost. And he has been extremely effective building the courses and building the platform, Nexclap, and also training thousands of students over a period of time. So he's also a founder of Nexclap right now, as we speak. And so he was going to talk about his journey, how he got into coding, and next, how he got motivated to launch Nexclap and everything. So welcome, Akhil.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so for the viewers, why don't you tell about yourself, your beginnings, and how you got into coding in the first place, and then your journey of getting involved in Silicon Valley for You, as well as teaching a lot of these students, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. So I guess I first started coding around maybe 13 or 14 years old. I had an idea of an app that I wanted to create. And at that time, there was no JavaScript framework to create mobile applications. So I was writing the application in Android. So I had Eclipse, and that's when I first started doing research and watching videos, online videos on Android development. In the very beginning, I was very active online. So whenever I had questions, I asked questions on Stack Overflow. I researched online because I wanted to build this app. So that's really how I first started. And in that process, I learned Java. I learned object-oriented programming. I learned using user interfaces, how to design for Android applications. So I really did many things all at once when I first started. As time went on, I had many interests beyond just purely coding. I'm also interested in the marketing side of things. So I think I just got involved in doing a bunch of different things and trying things out and studying different subjects. And from there, I kind of just put it all together in the beginning. So when I was teaching students, that was a different side of things. It requires a different skill set. But I was very interested because it combines not just technology, but technology, the human side of things like psychology, sociology. It's a mix of a lot of different things, and it was new for me, but I picked it up quickly and was very, very interested in engaging with people and helping them learn. And I learned a lot in the process, not just about technology, but also about people in general.
Yeah, so basically what I noticed was, there's so much to cover, but so you have a tremendous eye for a UI. So the Nexclap UI was super impressive when I first saw it. And it's very clean, just like any professional social platform, such as LinkedIn or Facebook. And you're able to grasp that kind of flow and the cleanliness, the importance of that cleanliness at such an early age, which is very, very impressive in my opinion. And also on top of that, like, so you have the ability to, um, you know, pick yourself up and then go through the, um, you know, whatever the course or whatever, and then you came up with extremely good video content. So really, really impressive video content. So that's where I'm saying you have a eye for good UI, user experience type thing, and also that potentially adds to the marketing. Marketing is a huge spectrum though, but this is part of it definitely. Um, so when you taught all these students, did it teach you anything, or did it make you a better than who you were before? Is it something you is something that you identify yourself with, is something, hey, this I'm good at, I want to do this? Or is this because I, at least in Silicon Valley, for you, we are enforcing everybody to be a mentor very early, uh, early stages of their lives. So talk about your experiences and how it's helping you for your career.
Yeah, I think to get very good at something, you do it through repetition. That is the main thing. When you're a teacher, you have to know everything. You have to know what people might ask you. You have to know why someone's code is not working, or what issues people are facing. So you really touch on every area of it, and you become, I think, more in charge of. You take more control over the subject because you are teaching the subject. So you have more command of it naturally because you have to explain it to someone, and you also have to be prepared before the class even starts for for anything that comes up, any sort of questions. And naturally, as you do it more and more and more, you become better at it. So I think that it definitely made me better at technical skills. It also helped me not just with that, but also in communication, because sometimes very complex problems, you can think of it in your head, but once you start to explain it, once you start to talk about it, it flows through your mind more naturally as well. So I think that the repetition, the the process of engaging with a subject for extended periods of time will naturally make you better at it.
Yeah. So, on those lines, right? I remember those days when you were launching Nexclap, when you came out with the whole thing, right? The whole concept, the vision, idea, UI, back and front and cloud, everything, whole 9 years. So, I remember you were working very hard, like day and night, and then all of a sudden I've seen that Nextclap. It was very impressive when I first saw it, as I said before. So what motivated you to do that, and why you were so driven at that time? I remember the drive you had is extraordinary. Um, what clicked and then say, what, I need to build something like this?
Yeah, I think the main thing was that at that time I was teaching classes, and I remembered that one of the students had mentioned to me that she was having trouble remembering the content after class. And then I also remember students were working together in class, but I noticed they were never really looking at each other's code. So I knew that there was two problems. One was that people were not seeing each other's way of doing things, and then the second was that um, there was no like online sort of like notebook where they could track all the different course material after class. And when I was in school, I used to have a notebook where we would write notes on paper. and it was very organized, and it was, it was structured one by one by one. But I noticed it was never done online much. And the benefits of doing it online is that you can create a notebook and then share it with someone else. So like when I was in school, we just have a notebook for ourselves, but no one, when we were in school, would ever share their notebooks really with each other, and no one would read someone else's notebook. But the notebook is really very important. It keeps track of everything you've learned, and it's like a progression of your own thoughts. So I think because I was very driven, I mean, to answer your question, I was very driven to do it because I knew people would use it. I was already teaching students, and I knew that these were problems, and I knew that these were problems that would fix a lot of things. So I knew that once I had finished, there was already a decent number of people who would find it very useful. And having that in mind made me very driven to finish and get it working, because it wasn't something I was just developing for fun. I knew that there would be a user base and people would benefit from using it. So basically, I saw the potential.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I have seen, obviously, in my life, a lot of software products being launched. I mean, especially back in the day, knock on the wood, any product that we release, it's never bug free. There's always, I mean, we used to have, and companies used to have a maintenance team just to fix bugs. And that's why I was extremely impressed, that the amount of bugs, number of bugs that you had to deal with are extremely minimal, relatively speaking. And I mean, it works like champ, and it's nice UI. And it's very clean, and overall, both design point of view and looks point of view, and it can scale. And in other words, if, for instance, right now you are adding exam processing tab, and you're adding industry connect, you're adding different profile, or changing the profiles of people and things like that. So all those can be easily added. It's not like we have to redo this whole thing now. You know what I mean? So it's scalable, everything. So it's a tremendous vision. That's why I kept bringing it up. So we'll have a separate podcast just on Nexclap, maybe in few weeks. So let's talk about the courses also. The course that you curated, pretty much all the courses have been curated by you, and even there, as I said before, the content, the video content you created is it's a professional grade. It's very clean, well done, and even the recent marketing one that you did for 3D, it's almost like Hollywood, Hollywood level content. The whole theme. I saw you, I heard your voiceover 2-3 times. The timing was meticulous, like with the background music and your wording and what you're showing, it's perfectly aligned. I mean, amazing. So, talk about that, right? So in other words, with all this, what I'm trying to say is there is a hidden talent, something that potentially can turn into a great product or solution for the community or people in general world. So why don't you talk about the where your real interests lie, in the sense, okay, this is what I want to do, and these are the things I want to build, so that somebody gets benefited out from this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing for me is very interested in creating products that fit a certain model, or like you said, they have a certain theme, and I think the main thing is they connect with people at a deep level. So they solve a problem, or even if it doesn't like solve directly a problem, it's something that's it's like a form of entertainment. It's pleasing for somebody to watch, or it's pleasing for them to even just look at. So every time someone logs into Nexclap, I want them to feel good. even if they're not using it very heavily when they just look at it. Even if they just go to the landing page, I want them to have a good experience just looking at it. Kind of like, for example, there's buildings, architects design buildings. Not everyone's going to go inside the building, but they want people to have a good time when they see it. So I think that's where my interest lies, is that just the overall experience that people have with products I work on, or just any sort of experience. So even if they're learning online, when I create the videos, I want them to feel that I'm conveying a simple message that they can understand, but it's covering complex topics. So they can learn something that they would have felt is complicated, but in a way that's simple for them to understand part by part. And then once they come out of it, they feel like they know something way more, and they've tackled something that at first they would have thought was maybe impossible for them to understand.
Yeah. So I've been doing these podcasts. We have about 27, 28, 26 episodes. Bunch of the guys I spoke to, they're all interns. They all were your students. And, pretty much everybody, literally. So definitely they did get benefited from that. There's no doubt. So it's clearly evident. And I'll be talking to more as time goes on. People can see all the folks that have been trained by you. In fact, they did mention your name in their podcasts. So there is the service you provided through this Nexclap platform is definitely paying off. However, my question is, like, as time goes on, how do you see this in growing into something slightly bigger that can cater more people across the board?
Are you talking about Nexclap or just
Nexclap?
Nexclap? Okay.
Nexclap, for instance, right? You have, for instance, the question is, like, you curate a lot of courses. Right now, they're all purely technical, right? They're all programming languages and technical. So let's say, would you be interested in adding, other any educational content? And if yes, how, what are you thinking? If no, then you want to stick to purely software or tech related topics.
No, I would like to expand to more topics. I think the main thing is that because I've been teaching for many years, through camps as well as the classes that we have, I've met many people in general.
Thousands.
So, yeah, many students. So I think the main thing is, when you have a platform like that, the most important thing is that people are able to learn well. So they log in and they're learning it better than they can learn it anywhere else. So that's my main goal. That's always my primary goal, is that the whole purpose of this website is that people can learn a subject. And then secondary, which is part of learning, is sharing their content, becoming part of the community, creating a portfolio, and just engaging more. So that is the main thing, but I would not want to limit that only to technology courses. The idea of people being able to learn through the notebooks and then actively participating and creating their own portfolios, engaging with the community, engaging with other people within the program, can be applied to any other subject. Not just a software course.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. In other words, there are a lot of vocational ones, and people were talking about, for instance, simple things like, how will I set up a window? I'm just saying, doesn't have to be massive. It's a simple thing, but people can, look at it, and then they can figure it out. So it's like a, but there is a method to it though. It's not like you go to YouTube and look at it. That's not the way. It's like there is a course structured for, let's say, carpentry, um, or being electrician. After attending this course, they should be able to do any electrical work or carpentry or whatever. So yeah, I think that there definitely will be a good platform if we turn that into that. Essentially, yeah. So I think that's a good direction, in my opinion. So now let's change topic a bit. So from the technology in general. So you've been to a lot of countries in last year or so, and been to Europe, Portugal, Spain, um, Italy, France. Now you're in UK, and prior to that you were in Mexico. So how is that helping? I know a lot of people in general. Some of the people I did podcast, Chris Horton, he was in Germany, he's back in US now, and other folks. So Nick, I'm going to do podcast with. He's also in Europe right now, somewhere near Croatia. Question is, is that something that helping you to get your perspective in terms of how the world out there, beyond what you see in Bay Area and United States?
Yeah, definitely. I think that while traveling, you learn a lot of things. So, for example, in different countries, things are set up in different ways. Obviously, there's different languages, so I've learned new languages, not entirely, but for example, Spanish, I'm pretty much almost fluent. I speak a little bit Portuguese. I learned a bit of French when I was in France. Um, different things, and even when I travel, I learn other languages, even not related to the country that I'm in, just for fun. I think that the main thing I've gathered from it overall is that overall people are very similar, no matter what country you go to. Um, it's just it's pretty much the same model, but there's like a slightly different format to every country. And I think another main thing I've gathered is that partly, in my opinion, it's due to technology. I think people around the world are kind of becoming more similar. Like their references are similar. The shows they watch are similar. The music they listen to is similar. So technology is kind of really pushing content globally to the point where people know the same thing. So when I was younger, I used to think that if I go to a different country, they wouldn't know anything that I know. It was like totally different. But everywhere you go, people know, for example, the TV show Friends, or they watch some Netflix shows in every country I've got to, every single one. So, but I think more than even beyond that, just for me personally, it's a great experience to meet other people and kind of see how the way they live their life. People have very different perspectives on how to live life. What's important to them, or what's important to one person, is maybe not so important to another person. So it's very relative in that sense. So I think that for me, it helped me understand what is important to me and how I want to go forward, not only in my career, but just overall what I want, based on what is out there. Now that I'm seeing more of what is out there, I can kind of tailor my time and my energy to how I want to structure my own life.
Yeah. That's the thing. Even the purpose, right? So basically, if once you understand the purpose, driving towards that becomes automatically easier, relatively speaking. if when you don't have clarity where you want to go, then that's when you don't know what to do. And even Chris was saying same thing when he went and spent time there after his high school. He understood the purpose, and so now that that kind of gave him a path towards where he wants to go. I think in similar way, yes, absolutely, and it's definitely eye-opening for a lot of people, and to see things outside of you see every day, and get a better perspective. So if you can leverage that and apply to skills that you have and create something that can help a lot of people, yeah, that's pretty much um, turn into what a service, a profound service to the people.
Yeah.
So now, so basically, I just want to touch base on the in general school education, uh, anywhere in the world. So to launch Nexclap and have this kind of vision, and then creating this kind of service to a lot of youth. Whatever you learn in schools, do you think they help you coming up with this Nexclap? Or if yes, what is it? If no, just talk about what's missing in the regular education system.
I mean, my school education, if you're talking about purely Nexclap, no, it did not help in me building Nexclap. That came from my own research and things I had gathered independently. I think that in a large part, no matter what you do, it really has to come from within yourself. So you have to see opportunity, and you have to really see that for yourself to be driven. And I think for different people, they have different drives. So for me, when I was building Nextclap, I knew that there was a market. I knew people would use it, so I was very motivated to finish and build it. In the education system, I guess across the board, I think there's many variables that go into it, and that's what makes it maybe not so straightforward to comprehend how effective it is. I think with education, the main thing is you always want to make it as simple as possible. And that's how I try to design Nextclap. I want to make it as simple as possible for someone to learn something without too much other things. So I think the problem that maybe I would have seen when I was in school at any level was that there's just too many factors. For example, the teacher may not say something, or the board is very far away, or you're thinking about something else, or your friend is there. And so what kind of happens is the subject almost becomes secondary to the other things that are involved, just the people dynamics in school, or for example, if you're playing a sport, you come to class and you're very tired, and that kind of affects the relationship someone has to a subject, because it's very personal relationship someone has to a subject. Some people believe that they're not good at something, but it's not true. It's just that they had a bad experience which didn't have anything to do with the subject. It had to do with other things, and they believe in their mind, and just their thinking became their reality, that they can't do something because of certain reasons. But the longer and the more intense of a relationship you have in terms of studying something, the more it comes. So anybody can really do anything in terms of any sort of subject, or not even just subjects. Anybody can play a sport, play an instrument, learn a language. In my opinion, people do have some talents, but I think that there's no such thing as um, someone can't do something or someone is not good at this. I think it's they had a bad relationship with it, and I do believe that that does tend to happen in the education system today, where the system can kind of make you feel like you can't do something or you're not good at this, especially if you are, you're a public setting. Everything is relative in terms of where, let's say, a peer is versus where you are at. And then it can kind of hurt your confidence in that sense. So one thing I would say is the lack of simplicity in the education system and how things are taught, in my opinion, could cause issues in how people learn.
Yeah. And also, like, in general, I talk about, I think you dwell into more about how the mechanics of teaching and things like that. But so basically typically what systems teach is what, they teach math, physics, all that. What I mean, what is math? What is math? I mean, every topic, but they never, not much emphasis on why element of it, and where do you use it, and what is the use case for the anything that you're learning. So as a result, you are in this rat race of just doing whatever they ask you to do so that you get that grade or that score or some exam, you get through it so that you can go to this college or you can do this or whatnot. And they never sort of, I mean, it never, I mean, including myself, I did a lot of subjects that I never used. I
Yeah.
never, I knew I was not going to use it back then, but I was forced to do it because that's it. The system was defined in a certain way. Um, so there is that aspect too. And so there is, even if you somehow get everything right, and um, let's say, so it's very difficult for any individual to be good at so many things, right? All the subjects, you can be good at all the subjects. I don't know if anybody can be good at every subject. I mean, good as in you get scores. I mean, there are a lot of guys I know, they get good scores in every subject. Doesn't mean that they're good at everything. I don't think so. At least that's my opinion. But
Yeah,
so
I think one thing I gathered is that anytime you have a system, I don't think there's necessarily such a thing as like the best and the worst, but you get a certain type. Like you get a certain type of learner or a certain type of student who has a certain skills, and those are the people who succeed in that system.
yeah,
Uh, for example, there's people who learn very well visually, like they like to see things. There's other people who like to read it. They like to
right,
read about things. So then, let's say you have a class that's entirely visual based learning. Then the people who are better at reading and um, reading their thoughts from that may not succeed as much as visual learners. So anytime you have such a massive like education system, um, like you were saying, there are some people who get great scores, but maybe those skills don't translate to other types of skills in work. Um, then you'll get a certain type of student.
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So that's why I always say this to a lot of people that they think this is a highly debatable, about this education system. My simple thing is, if this is not a debate. If this, whatever it is today, it's one of the options. If a student likes it and student enjoying, yes, let him or her go through it, and it translates to whatever the results. Hopefully, they get good results. But if it is being under challenged, a student is being under challenged or over challenged, for those, system has to give options. And if they, but that's not the way it is today. If it is under challenged, you still have to figure out how to fit in. If it is over challenged, you still have to figure out how to fit in, because they're not going to change. And So if you don't fit in, you are a failure. If you fit in, you're a very successful student.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and when you get out, you know, so things are not panning out accordingly sometimes. And there are a lot of people that didn't do well in schools. They are doing very well, and vice versa. And there are some students they did reasonably well in both. And it's possible. But for all these three categories, one thing I can guarantee you that once they leave the academics, it takes some time to adjust to the real world. The whole, I call it real world is very unstructured. There is no structure to it. There is no process. You join a company, somebody says, okay, here is the thing, you just work on it, right? There is no, so it's not as good as, college or high school. In
Yeah.
college, high school, everything, there is a course curriculum, there is a semester, there is exam. And then if you pass the exam, this is the process. If you fail the exam, this is the process. Here, there is nothing. You just come in and somebody says, oh, you go, this is the piece, I want to work on. So that connecting dots it's finding a lot of students, including myself, in the beginning, it was a struggle. And
Yeah.
I So when I didn't understand, I used to slog and just do my part very well, so
Yeah.
that I just stay with it. And then over a period of time, I was able to figure out. But by the time I figured out, I would have lost about 3 to 5 years of my life just trying to understand how this application side of things work. And so many times they say, oh, why don't you use this? Why don't you use that? I don't even know what that means, because none of them were taught really in the course, and we are so used to following that curriculum so strictly. When you get out, you're like fish out of pond. That's why my recommendation to all the students is you got to figure it out. You can't just rely on a particular college or schools to help you. If you don't, you're going to be behind the race. And so that's why you got to do things like, for instance, the mentorship you did, products developed, and those experiences are going to pay off. And not just saying that, oh, I know Python. Okay, so it's like everybody knows Python, Diamond doesn't. But have you developed something use Python? If you did, yes. I mean, 99.9% of the times people like to talk to you because you have done something with it. So with that, right? So why don't you talk about your association with Silicon Valley? I know you touched upon here and there. Maybe one more time, and then so we can go to the next fun question, which is, do you envision? I know you talk about 3D and AR, VR quite a bit. Do you envision any piece of technology that doesn't exist today, which you want?
So that's the question. The envisioning.
A
Or
piece of technology that doesn't
uh,
exist and that you want to see or you want to have.
in AR, VR, or anything.
Anything. I'm just saying, I know you talk about those, but you can pick anything. Any use case. For instance, some folks said, oh, I want a USB stick to dump my memory so that I can reload it and relive the past and
Mm.
things like that. These are all fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
But it can be anything, any piece of technology.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that comes to mind for me is that, as time goes on, I think that the ways people interact with technology for entertainment will be a lot more personal. So, for example, when people become very attached to a TV show, it is because they feel like they're a part of the show. Like they can envision themselves being in that situation or being in the room or being. So that's why they laugh or they feel certain emotions because they can feel like they're a part of it. So I think even, and you see that even in sports, for example, people feel very attached to a sports team because they feel like they're a part of the team, basically. Um, So I think that with virtual technology, it's very possible to have experiences where you are actually part of the experience. Um, Obviously, it's virtual, but that's something I'd like to see in the future. Is that if somebody wants to have someone creates some sort of software where the person itself is able to be in that experience and then provide their own thoughts, like say their own minds, and then have other characters respond to them, or really be like a part of a game. So rather than just feeling like you were a part of the experience, you can actually be a part of the experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's where my belief is that it is going to that direction, um, especially with the number of companies that are going in this direction, with Facebook going all in for metaverse. I think other companies will go very similarly as well.
NVIDIA is
Nvidia, yeah.
leading.
Microsoft has HoloLens. So there's a lot of companies that are driving in this direction. So I think I don't know about the near future, but definitely in our lifetimes, I think we would see it.
Absolutely. I mean, no doubt about it. And I mean, people are coming out with crazy thoughts. Like, for instance, when you are watching a movie or a documentary in the real time, you can edit and then put yourself or put your thoughts into it so that it comes out in certain way. And so that basically you are contributing. It's like open source, right? It's like social media, you contribute. So instead of today, somebody makes the movie, somebody makes the content, everybody else watches. So basically it's like a crowdsourced content. So everybody sort of contributes pieces, and then that turns into some whatever movie or whatever that is. And
Yeah.
so that it's not coming from one person to everybody else. It's like everybody's contributing, just like people do in open source today to build the products. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be very fascinating. I don't know how, is it good or bad, only time will tell, but it's not going to be, moving very fast, and things are changing very quickly in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, thanks, Akhil. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate. So idea is to have another series of these podcasts. So as I said before, next podcast we jump, maybe deep down into Nexclap and see what it is today and what's your vision and things like that. So that you can see your own progress from today to next and next, and also people can learn from your progress as well. So that's the idea behind this podcast. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you very soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.